Hey, what's good, people? This is episode 181. No, this is episode 180. I think 181 is another F. Doesn't matter. Who cares? I'm Jason DeBellis. That man is Matt Levoe. That man is Troy Gravett. Gravett. Pugay.
That French accent.
I'm feeling French. He's feeling Eastern European. He's feeling American. The episode starts right now. What's up, boys?
Hey.
How you doing?
What's up, man? Hey, welcome to the Option Podcast along with Troy and along with Matt Levoe and Troy Gravett. Gravett. I'm Jason DeBellis, and we are ready. You guys, you got a whole bunch of questions, but I'm going to be a little selfish, and I'd like to ask some questions myself first. What are both of you guys former players?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I played in high school at a smaller Christian school, and then I was a libero at Northridge.
Oh, Northridge boy. The cool kid school.
Oh, yep.
That's the cool kid school. And you?
I was a three-sport athlete at Torrance High. I played football, soccer, and volleyball. And then I went to El Camino Community College, and I played football and volleyball there.
Wow. When did you graduate out? Torrance?
Torrance 08, El Camino 10, and then I went to Long Beach State. Did not play there, but I graduated, got my degree there in 2012.
Cool, guys. Nice. Excellent. Dude,
Yeah.
so...
I had played other sports in high school as well. Basketball, soccer, a little bit of football, baseball.
When did you graduate Northridge?
2008.
Oh, that was when Trambly was there, right?
Yeah, so my redshirt year was Trambly and Billy Allen's senior year.
What a... Dude, is that not the cool... Is that not the cool kid school, though?
I was on the team with both of them, and then Conover came, and he was there in 05 with me.
Right. And then you got J-Check after you, my guy from Queens, New York, 7-footer. You got, of course, Greg Faulkner, the immortal beloved, right? Everybody loves Greg. I think we're all like a 6 degrees of separation. Is that not like the Kevin Bacon of the South Bay?
Volleyball is a small world, man. We all seem to know each other at some point or another. Now, when I was at Long Beach State, the Crab brothers were there. Didn't really know them then, but now interact with them well and know them pretty well, and it all ties together.
Nice.
I think volleyball, we could cut it down to like 3, maybe even 4.
Oh my God, look at this. Questions are still coming in.
Let's give the people what they want.
I think, yeah, we should. You know what the hell? That's the ask. This is from Charles Discus. He says, ask. I got one. He says, ask if they have ever erroneously called hands for looking different than previous sets by the same player despite the set still being clean.
I'll let Matt.
Do you guys understand that question?
I'll let Matt take this one.
Do you even get that question?
He's notorious for these.
It's one of those things where players kind of get on you about if the whistle is a little bit late. So you see something a little bit different going in, and you jump the gun a little bit. I'm not going to lie, it has happened before. We're all human. We, as much as we don't want to admit it, and in the moment we do make mistakes, and sometimes it's a little bit easier to just take that half second and maybe be a little bit late with the whistle and truly see how it comes out, rather than just, oh, it looks weird going in and I'm going to call this.
Right.
So yes, I have definitely called a hands based on where they took it or how they took it, as opposed to what actually happened with the contact.
Although we are looking at contact first, it does happen because you don't want to jump the gun too early, but then you don't want the whistle to be too late because then you get questioned by the players, right?
Right.
But we also look for consistency in setting too. So we see the same set over and over and over again by the same player, and all of a sudden they do something maybe a little bit different, and it catches our attention, and that's where we need to be a little bit more patient just to make sure that it was a clean set. Because remember, we're looking at the contact of the actual ball to the player's hands. And it doesn't matter actually where their hands are. It's where not where the contact point is, but what the actual contact is between the hands and the ball.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. My question in between, because I've done a little bit of refereeing, but just for cash. What, New York Urban, whatever, and this and that. You're up there by yourself, no line judge, no down ref, can't see past the pole, can't see anything. Being questioned by a bunch of people who are just weekend warriors, right? So my question is, because I've always been told by a lot of refs, double hit. Let's explore double for a little bit. Double hit is not about how it comes out, but how it comes in.
Yes, and we are trained, and the more reps you get, the better you become at just becoming laser focused on the player's hands and how they contact the ball.
Right.
And we're actually watching it both come in and come out, because actually the slippage can happen coming in or coming out, right? But now, of course, with FIVB coming down high and quick, that kind of thing, but eliminating the catch ball. So we just got to be laser focused. And also, as a referee, remember that a player can be positioned, they can be looking at you, they can be looking away from you towards their partner, and every single angle that they take, we're going to see something different. Because a player that's running straight at you, you're going to be able to see their hands open up. Or if they're running away from you and you see their back, you can see the back of their hands. But sometimes the hardest is if they are, say, shoulder square to the net, one of their hands is going to be behind the ball. We can't necessarily see it, so those are the tougher ones.
Right.
But we're trained and we stay laser focused on the hands, and we try to catch that 1-2, that bobble or the slip that comes through the hands.
Right. Hey, Matt, something you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean it's always the type of thing where it can look a little bit janky sometimes coming out. A lot of people are always commenting that, oh, that ball had spin. Well, I can take a ball and I can make it spin with one hand. Does that mean that that's a double?
Oh, the one-handed double. Oh, yeah. The one-handed double.
So you kind of gotta know when you can use that as an explanation, because like Troy said, we really are looking at it, and we're stuck in the position that we're at. If we're on that stand, we cannot move. So it's not as though I can take another step out wide to get a different angle on the hand so that I can see that opposite hand or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. We're stuck in one position. We got to just go with what we can see from that one spot. It doesn't always work out, but it does help us see most of the stuff, especially dealing with the lines. Because let's be honest, especially at the higher levels, there's a lot of close line plays that we got to be ready for.
Yeah. When you said you're stuck in a position, I had this flashback at his commercial of this guy, or his Key and Peele. Like this guy does like a gyrating celebration and a referee threatened to flag him. So when he was in the end zone, the referee moved up to him and bent like half over like this with the whistle. Like, don't you dare. So I had this picture of one of you guys like jumping off the ladder being like, go ahead and double it, Okay, fun question, guys. This is an indoor question. Do referees inhale when they see a middle blocker put his hands up to set?
Indoor, no, not anymore. Let's be honest. Especially in the men's game, they've taken pretty much all the judgment on double contacts out of our hands. It's gotten to the point where if it gets so bad that everybody in the gym knows that it's a double, then we got to call it. And I think we all can recognize that. But we're not looking for, there's a middle setting. Especially nowadays, so many of them have played other positions and have been training in the gym and getting those reps, and they're not afraid. So, that was the old saying back when I was in high school, and we were still playing side out scoring, but I don't think that that's something that really comes into mind anymore.
No.
At one point, we'd be holding our breath, just hoping that they wouldn't mangle the ball, so we'd have to make a call. But nowadays, I mean, we're almost letting anything go indoor. So that's kind of the way we're going.
I mean, for indoor, you can, in my opinion, you could still call it how it comes in, and still have like a decent, less sloppy game, right? I mean, if spin is not in fact is not a strong indicator of what's a double and what's not, maybe we'll have a discussion later about side spin that might have a suggestion, right? Where forward and back or whatever. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, Matt, you're right, man. It's kind of been the Wild Wild West. But it also seems like at the highest level, like you said, when everything's clean, and then there's a little bit of sloppiness, like you said, you'll hear the American Idol judges kind of navigate that and mediate that for everybody. It's like, gotcha, guys. Gotcha. getting to the subject of spin being an indicator, I've seen Phil literally double, like you said, like you were talking about shoulders to the pole or shoulders to the net or hands to the net. I've literally seen him take in one ball in one hand, out the other, and it comes out spinless.
Mm-hmm. And
So
that happens quite often. And the only people who could ever see it happen or know that it happened is the referee and the player.
right,
Because what actually happens is sometimes the ball will come into one hand and then they'll close with the second hand and then it'll come out absolutely clean. Now, technically, is that a double contact? Yeah, because it's a clear 1-2, but it comes out perfectly clean. So as referees, and Matt, you and I were talking about that this weekend, is do we call that or do we not call that? Because who's going to say anything, right? If there's no spin on it, probably nobody, because it's not a catch ball. So people are like, whoa, that wasn't egregious.
right.
But is it a double contact? Technically, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But should we be calling it now? If they over control it, then yeah, we should be calling that all day long. But if it's something that nobody else would even notice, whether it be the opposing team or the fans or anybody like that, because sometimes that can, sway people's opinions. The crowd's going crazy, the other team is, yelling and all this stuff. But sometimes it happens, but sometimes we don't call it because it comes out so clean and we're like, oh, well, nobody said anything, so we play on.
Nothing to see here. Matt.
Yeah, and again, that comes down to, are you waiting that split second and risk being a little bit late in everybody else's eyes to realize, okay, am I really the only one that saw a ball that bad, or that was illegal? And so you just got to kind of be willing to either bite the bullet one way or the other, kind of.
Right. Yeah. Dave Carson said, as far as doubles are concerned, he said one of the most high IQ things that bears repeating and echoing this sentiment. He said, check with your league. And I thought, like me, I'm a bi-coastal brother. I grew up in New York, so, I played a lot of grass in Connecticut, Sherwood, and all that stuff. So Sherwood, like Connecticut, grass tournaments back then were like, it's 1.25 times a second. And I'm like, okay, that's specific, guys. I'm like, let me just spin the ball around and see. I'm going to spin this ball at a very fast pace. And I want you to count to 1 and tell me that's okay. Because what happens is it's going to spin slow, right? And
Right.
you're going to call a double. But I'm like, how fast that ball can turn a whole time in 1 second. And it looks like it's spinning like a top. And then you have, I don't know, I'll just use Pottstown Rumble, guys, right? Big court, side out. Their rules, right? No let serve, right? So
Yep.
check with your league is important because in every league you play in, right? There's different rules, like international basketball, right, guys? I'm going to give you the floor mat first on this one, but right, international basketball, I don't think there's a 3-second defensive violation.
And you can grab the ball on the cylinder in international basketball, right?
Yeah.
Where you can in the NBA. Yeah, it's always changing from one league to another, it seems like, right?
But yeah, your thoughts and sentiments on the great Dave Carson, Dave Carson, to about check with your league, Matt.
I mean, we in essence kind of have that already, because let's be real, AAU has their own interpretation of what a double is. CBVA has their interpretations on how they want it called. AVP were kind of that hybrid of USA versus FIVB. USA is leaning more towards the FIVB. Then you can go indoors and you got NFHS, you got PAVO, you have USA, and all these different entities or leagues, if you want to call them that, have their own interpretations. And so as an official, you really got to pay attention of, okay, I'm walking into a USA event, or I'm walking into a PAVO event, or I'm walking into a AVP event. And you got to be ready for that particular rule set. So, that adage does really add up of ask your league.
Troy?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo kind of what Matt said. And as referees, I mean, nowadays have to memorize 5 or 6 different rule books, especially if you're working indoor and beach. And depending on maybe what part of the country you're in, what league you're reffing, whether it's juniors, whether it's pros, there's going to be a slight difference between all of them. And you just have to get mentally prepared whether you step in the gym or you step on the sand every single time you're out there, as to who's playing, what am I calling, what are the rule sets, because there are differences even in beach from like CBVA to AVP to FIVB. So yeah, he's right on about that, and it's always some people might think it's like a scapegoat answer. We'll go check with your league rather than try to explain actually what like a double contact is or what something else is. But no, he's exactly right.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about carry, lift. We were talking about doubles before, but before I do, really cool caveat reminding our audience and some of the people already know, as far as checking with your league guys, CBVA literally wrote into their rules that you cannot receive serve with an open hand pass, right? Educating our supposed purist, it's not illegal. It's never been illegal, even for indoor when they changed it to double hit. It's just been illegal to double hit or carry it, and really no one had the testicular fortitude to do it, right? I have a book actually somewhere behind you called Volleyball Rules and Pictures that actually shows a picture of it and whatever. And look, in the 90s, the refs got together and said, look, hey, we're just gonna make up something. Ain't no way. No, that's not gonna happen. So, but I just wanted to let everybody know, CBVA, to their credit, because they don't have refs like you reffing, right? CBVA, a lot of the tournaments, if I'm not mistaken, the players ref.
All self-ref.
Yeah. So to avoid the the purist from the legality of the rule and this and that, boom, it's not in the rules. I like, and that was a very, very intelligent thing on their part. So gents, let's talk about carry. One of the questions was how, I guess I'll just ask, to quote the movie Grease or Born to Hand Jive, how low can you go? How low can you go?
So this is always a point of contention, right? Because FIVB is trying to eliminate the catch ball altogether, especially on hand setting. So in AVP, if we're going to go more towards high and quick, let the little bobbles go, we're also going to try to eliminate the old school deep dish set, right?
Okay, little Pizza Hut.
Right. So what we're looking for nowadays is two different directions is an automatic. So if you're contacting the ball going down and then up, automatic whistle.
Yeah, discontinue, right?
Right.
It's like a discontinue.
If you're taking the ball here, you're coming sideways with it and then letting it go, that's a catch. We're calling that. And then also remember that the point of contact does not matter. Some players will take the ball over their head. Some people will take it at chin level, and some will actually contact the ball maybe even at their neck area or their chest area, right? So contact point, coming in, coming out. Now, if you go watch, say, NCAA, you'll see them actually hold the ball quite a bit longer than the pros do. And I think that's something that we're trying to get down to and trying to eliminate that there, because if they have any aspirations of playing at a higher level, they're going to have to get it out quicker as well. Right. So that's what we're looking for. And then you can also look at the elbows too. So if someone's taking the ball here, it's kind of hard to bring the ball down without your elbows moving, right? So if they bring the ball down, your elbows are moving down too, right? So high and quick, elbows stay. You can look at the elbows as a point of reference also for catching the ball. And then also, what's the difference between a hitch and a catch, right? There's a lot of players who will have a slight hitch, meaning there'll be a pause in their hands before they let it go. And then there'll be some who actually bring the ball down old school deep dish style. Right. So I think the hitch is still okay as long as it comes out. And then, and me and Matt and a lot of the same pages on, we'll give you one but not the other. And I'll kind of let Matt explain like what that means as far as our philosophy.
Yeah, so kind of if you got a player that's taking the ball high and they're up on their forehead and the ball just comes out super quick, you're going to have a little bit of spin because you're not going to over control the ball.
Right.
But if I don't want to, I'll just throw a name out there. You got someone like a K-Spear who definitively has that downward motion kind of that we were talking about. And then if he has any little bobble, well, now you've done a little bit of both the catch and the double. So we got to call one or the other.
Right. Wow.
And so it's people kind of get upset. Like we had a player ask this weekend, well, she's taking the ball from her chest every single time. Okay. Is that illegal that she started there? She's not fully extending her arms or anything like that. So just because you start with it lower doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be a catch ball no matter what. It's about how long you have it. Kind of like Troy said, are you going multiple directions with it? Is it that hitch versus that catch, that sort of thing. So you know, it's hard to kind of put into words unless you're having a full long discussion and you have a little bit of video to kind of say, yes, that is the definition of a catcher. That is what we're looking for when we're looking for doubles, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I definitely agree that it's not how low you start. Like the girl you're talking about taking the ball from her chest, right? Okay. Is she starting from her chest? Is she taking it from her chest and then bringing it down to her belly button and then back up? Right? That might be a carry, or just that's a
No,
lift. That's a
on the same
discontinuation,
token,
right?
if
Yeah.
you're starting from your chest and then you're extending your arms
Right.
all the way out, then yeah, you're holding on to that ball pretty long.
Right.
Whereas if you're just starting low and coming out quick and you're releasing it by the time you get to your eyeballs or
Mhm.
even your nose, then that's the same distance as if you start on your forehead and extend your arms the rest of the way.
When did you guys notice the uptick in this conversation about hands? Right? I mean, this look. Whether you're a purist or an old school catch and throw guy, whether you're quick release guy from New York or New Jersey, um, I think the last 3 years this has been more of a conversation. Why?
For me, it was last year because the FIVB was getting way more strict on the
What?
hands, and it
Okay.
was starting to trickle down. And then we had conversations within our cadre of the AVP of what are we supposed to call and what are we not supposed to call, because there was a lot of confusion there. FIB was going so far the spectrum of they wanted beach setting to be kind of like indoor, where you're so high and quick that if you have any pause at all, they want you to call a catch. Well, that's not beach volleyball. Indoor, you don't have to deal with the elements. You don't have wind, you don't have sun, you don't have sand, you don't have sweat, you don't have any of that stuff, right? So on the beach, when you're dealing with the elements, you should be able to have that little extra time to control the ball, but not over control it. So for
Mm.
me, I felt like it was maybe the last 2 years, but last year we had a lot of conversations about it. And I don't know how Matt feels about that, but that was kind of when I noticed it was last year, because there was a lot of
Mm.
confusion on the players going from the tour, FIVB to AVP, going back and forth. And we're like, well, as the referees, like, what are we supposed to call, and then what do they want us to call? How do the players want the game called, right?
Right.
Because ultimately, that's what we want to do, is we want to call it how the players want it called.
Matt, hold that thought for a second, because I have a question. Don't you find that ironic that you're in this outdoor scene, right? And you have sun, you have wind or whatever, and people expect this ball to be rotationless, and then you're indoor and you can literally no karate and give it the chop. Don't you find a little irony in that, guys?
Definitely, it's much more difficult to set outdoors with the elements, right, than it is indoor. But yet,
But then the quality has to be better, right?
Right.
You're looking for a better set in worse conditions.
Yeah, so
that's just ironic. I'm sorry. I just
yeah,
that played a little
we
both.
expect a lot more out of the beach players, right?
Right.
Even though they have more to deal with, it's tougher.
Right.
Well, I think that you got to kind of, I mean, it starts even with taking a look at the ball. What pressure do you keep the ball at for indoors? You're looking at about 4.5 psi. When
That's
you're
right.
on the beach, you're looking at anywhere from 2.8 to 3.4.
Oh, it's lower.
It's a whole lot lower.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
that's why you aren't seeing hits go quite as hard. You're not seeing serves coming off the line at 70, 80 miles an hour like you will on the indoor scene. So the game in and of itself is going to be a little bit slower, and it starts with the hitting. So hitting, you're not hitting the ball as fast. Passing the ball, because it's so much lower PSI, is going to stay on your arms a little bit longer. And then setting, okay, we've slowed the other two aspects of the game down. Why are we now trying to speed setting up? Okay, because everything else in beach is innately going to be a little bit slower, again, because of the ball, the elements, the sand, the weather, the wind, the sun, all that stuff. So it's kind of counterintuitive to all of a sudden go, oh no, this has to be perfect, or this has to be faster, or let's just allow the game to kind of everything about it be just that smidge slower than what we're expecting from an indoor player.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you guys in the sense that, I'm sorry but not sorry that someone spent 15 years learning how to catch and throw a ball just so it doesn't spin. And in their mind, and only and in that regional mind, that's volleyball. That's considered real volleyball. And I never bought into that nonsense, because once you leave your zip code, you get an education. And I'm talking. Dude, as far as refs go and as far as well-traveled human beings go, I got the right two guys for the job here, man. You guys, I mean, lipstick stamps on your passport, I'll bet. You know, I mean, right? Been around the world.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right? Both of you guys.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that, and we strive to be the best referees that we can possibly be, and we also have different characteristics, I would say, and traits from the other referees that I think make us maybe more likable than others because we're younger. We're we're the two youngest referees.
And extremely fair.
And
extremely fair.
And the players know that. And living around here, and especially me being in the South Bay, I see the players all the time where they're practicing. We always reach out to them. They reach out to us if they have a tournament coming up and they want us to ref practice round because we need reps just as much as they do. And so we get to know them, and then we get to know them personally, and then we become friends and acquaintances, and all of a sudden we've gained each other's respect, and then with that we get the players' trust too. So are we going to make mistakes? Of course we're going to make mistakes, but at least they know that, hey, that's probably the only mistake he might make all game. And as long as you don't miss the egregious stuff, and maybe we miss a small thing here or there, the players are going to be okay with that because they know at the end of the day that we're going to call a fair game. We're going to be consistent.
Matt, I have so much to say about this, but you need to get you got to get a word in. I could go all day.
I 100% agree. I mean, especially the pros, they're out there training how many hours a week? And so for us to kind of sit here and let's be real, is the NCAA women's, is that truly preparing us to go out there and ref a Phil Dahlhauser Taylor Crabb match? No, that speed just isn't going to be there. They're not as tall. They're not playing as quick. So for us, especially living in Southern California, being able to go out and ref those practices and get those reps at those speeds, and the height that they play at, seeing those touches and stuff like that, that's the best way that we can make ourselves better.
Yeah.
So trying to put in the time the same way that the players are putting in the time so that when we get to those big events, we've had just as much practice as they have.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah. And you're right. I think, though you say the women's is a little slower, I think as far as sixes is concerned, there's a ton of more moving parts that come into play that as far as level of difficulty, it offsets it. It's almost like a wash, right? It's like a push because one is moving faster and one has more moving parts. You know what I mean, guys?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Doc Vandermeer. Oh, okay. All right. Fine. Here it is. Ask Matthew Levoe why he never smiles. Hold on, here it is. Ready? All right, Matt, smile for the camera.
There you go.
I'm kidding. He's not answering that. Good. He's not touching that. Go ahead.
I tend to be someone, I'll be honest, I have kind of a little bit more of a dry sense of humor. And so, I'll make comments to players during a game, and it kind of, I'm definitely having fun out there, but we always get drilled, especially indoor, that we're supposed to be robots, and I have my own personality, and my personality just comes through in a different way, and I tend to do it more with words and hold that straight face.
Yeah.
I tend to be a poker player up there. I'll smile every once in a while,
I've seen enough Wes Anderson films to know that you got a sense of humor.
I'm more about giving an applause if there's a great play. I'll pull the whistle out of my mouth and, hey, ladies, gentlemen, that was a great play. Nice hustle, whatever.
That happened this weekend too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It happened multiple times.
Ref,
I had the semifinal where we had the ball go back and forth on court one about 12 times between Maddie Anderson and, Molly Turner against the two FSU girls. And, hey, get out there, play, do your best, and great work.
But my major in college is theater performance, and I'm also a big Wes Anderson film guy. So if you ever got cast in one of those movies, I'm like, I get it. I get it. And Doc Vandermeer asked Troy why he called the net violation last weekend. You gotta be more specific.
Oh, we know exactly which net.
Why? Do you have the clip
of the finals?
No, of the play that he's talking about.
No, I don't.
Oh, well, as a down ref, that's our responsibility is to call the net violations. That's why I called the net violation.
Takes care of that, right? Ethan Mack asked, during a rally, if part of the line gets kicked in or out and affects the play, what's the ruling?
That's a
So
great.
it's actually written in the rule book. You play the game with the way the line starts.
Mm-hmm.
So if the line is moved during the rally, then we have what's called a line replacement protocol, where we can get down off the stand, put it back to where it was, and then it becomes a judgment at that point. Because sometimes the line will go up on its side and it's a little bit higher. So if it barely clips it as it's going out, if that ball mark is completely out, then that ball's out. Sometimes, but then you get it caught where you don't realize that a line might be on its edge at the beginning of a rally. And if that line gets hit while it's on edge and it wasn't moved during the rally, then that play stands the way that it was. And that ball's in because it contacted the line. So you got to know if it happened during the rally or if it happened the rally before and you just didn't catch it and fix it.
Nice.
The only time that as referees we're allowed to actually pick up the line and move it after the play is over is if the line has moved significantly during the play.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, as Matt said, however, when you blow that whistle and beckon for serve and then they start the rally, you have to play as the lines lay.
Right.
So that's why we're always flipping the line, making sure it's straight in between points. But if the line does get moved during the play, like by a player's foot and gets kicked out wide, and let's say a ball lands near that line, that is the one time that we're actually allowed to go over, pick up the line, replace it into its original position, and then we look at the ball mark and we can make a decision.
No, that makes complete sense. And yeah, that also avoids like people like kicking the line out, or kicking the line out so the ball could be in or whatever. We've seen some theater like that. We've seen Alisson do that. Mm-hmm.
I've even had a play where the line was brought in by a player approaching for an attack, and then the ball landed where the line would have been, but it completely missed the line because it was brought in by almost 8 inches.
Wow.
And so the one team is celebrating because, that ball's out. Well, then you go down, you replace that line. Oh, wait, no, that ball's actually in, and it wouldn't have even hit the line if it had been where it was supposed to be.
I agree.
And sometimes as referees, you'll see us go over, and we won't actually move the line, but sometimes if we're looking at a ball mark, we might actually just pick up the line just an inch or two just to see if it actually does cut the ball mark. That way we can tell if the ball actually touched the line.
Right.
But we cannot replace the line, meaning move it to a different spot unless it was moved during the rally.
Can we dismiss the myth of backwash, ball mark backwash, or is that actually a real thing?
FIVB is actually kind of determined that a lot of the balls that they were calling in because of the splash mark, while using the Hawkeye, have actually been out. That because of how much splash is created, it looked like it was in when it was in actuality out.
Well, I think what they need to do to understand is that physics dictates that when the ball hits the sand, it doesn't stay round and hard like a bowling ball or the Earth's globe, right? It eggs out. And if it eggs out, then it makes the splash a little bit more significantly truer than they're giving the splash credit for. Don't you guys agree with that? It's the ball's not this perfect thing that when it hits the ground, it hits the ground as a circle. It eggs out.
It's going to compress.
Yes, 100%, especially with how fast some of these guys are hitting the ball.
Yeah.
But when we see that splash mark, we have to kind of look at the inside edge of it,
Right.
Because obviously the ball does flatten out a little bit with how hard some of these players are hitting the ball. So if while it's in contact with the ground, any part of the ball while it's elongated or flattened out contacts the line, then that's in.
Got it. And that's how it should be. Troy?
I was just going to say exactly what he was going to say. And sometimes it is tough to go over there when it's so close, the ball mark. And we're just trying to see if we can see that outer rim of the ball in the sand. Because if we know that, then it was probably the ball was out.
Right.
But otherwise, it does compress a little bit. And if you don't see it hit the line, you can't go over there and assume that it was in.
Right.
Right. Because a lot of times.
Well, if the line moves, doesn't that mean it's in?
Correct. And there's also, and this is a good point you brought up, because there's times when a ball will land, the ball mark will be out maybe by half an inch, and the players might ask you to go look at it. But if, as a referee, you see the ball hit the line before it hit the ground, then it's in, and you go with what you saw, and you don't go look at the ball mark, because that would basically negate the whole purpose of it, right? Because if you go over there and look at the ball mark and it's out, but you saw the ball hit the line.
Yeah.
Well, then what's the point of going down there, right? So that's when you just tell the players, no, the ball hit the line before it hit the ground.
Right.
That's why it's their point, because the ball is in.
Yeah, because
so
under the rules of volleyball, if it hits any part of the line, it's in, right?
Yeah, and this kind of comes back to the whole line moving and why we as officials try and have the players flatten out the lines, make it so that there's no humps, because you can have a hump that's in the line and all of a sudden it's elevating it half inch to an inch off the ground. Well, now that line is up elevated. Ball could hit that line and land an inch and a half out, but because it hit the line on its way across, that ball's in.
Thank you guys so much for saying that. You're in Central Park and you're in these. I don't like to categorize people, but like double B or single A games, and the line moves, and then this stupid drunken argument like the ball, like the sand kicked up the line, and I'm like, have you guys ever been to a physics class? I never even passed science. All right, never mind take science or know the science. I never even passed science, and I can tell you that there's no way like a roll shot is going to create that much force. And there's no one in this park that's going to hit that ball that hard that's going to make the sand kick up the line. I said, have you ever seen that in a real game? In a real game, guys, Cobras. You don't see them a lot in the FIVB. Is it because it's not a smart move, or is it because it's illegal?
It's perfectly legal, and we call it in the rule book, it's called rigid and together. So obviously we know you can't use any finger action, right?
Right.
To over control the ball, tip it, like we call an indoor tip, right? Tip it over the block. You can't do that on the beach. So you can use your knuckles, or you can use your fingers, but it have to be what we call rigid and together.
Right. But not rigid indexes, right? Not something stupid like, let me show the camera, not this.
No. Rigid and together.
Got it.
Both. It has to be both. Mm-hmm. And that's perfectly legal. But as soon as those fingers are not together, or you put your fingerprints on the ball, that's what we call fingerprints on the ball, that's using your fingers, that's illegal.
Right. Matt's like what he said. See, guys, I got a top and a down rough here, man. It's just like he made the call. I'm like, what are you looking at me for? He made the call. Yeah. As a player, Matt, have you ever gotten a yellow or red card before?
I got quite a few as a player in high school. I'll leave it at that.
What was your first one? You always remember your first one.
My first one was punching a pole my freshman year in high school.
That's it? Punching a pole?
Punching a pole.
You didn't break your hand, did you?
I think my parents counted. I got 33 yellows and 4 reds when I was in high school. And that's just in high school.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
my senior year in high school, I had a ref give me a yellow card before the match even started because he said he didn't want to deal with me that night.
Oh, cool. Nice. Dude, I had a reputation. Cool. I did too. How about you before we get to me?
No, not at all. 0.
Oh, look at this angel. Look at this little angel.
It's funny because my high school coach sees me now and he's like, wait, you're a ref now?
Yeah.
You must get a lot of crap. Kind of serves you right.
The same guy who used to despise the refs is now one of them.
Isn't that awesome? Isn't that fantastic?
That's the reason that I got into reffing, is because I was kind of like, dude, I can do it better than these guys.
Yes, because that's what they say. If you think you can do a better job, you're more than welcome to. And guess what? He's doing it. He signed up for it, and you delivered. So
hey, I say that to hecklers all the time in the crowd.
Yeah.
Say, hey, put a whistle on your neck. Come up here. You try it.
Let's do it. I've done it, and I don't want to do it because it takes a special discipline to show this heightened level of. First of all, let's talk about the mental, guys. I'm going to take over for a minute. It takes a heightened level of concentration to not volleyball doze off. You're watching a ball this, and you do it so long, there's kind of a natural order of things. And next thing you know, you get kind of dozy, and then the net shakes, and you're just like, oh, shoot, you have to punch yourself awake because that could have been a net and you missed it. And then for the rest of the match, you compensate by being laser focused. And that's just the mental, all right? Physically, you're standing in this one spot. Guys, yeah, and you know, because we all played, and you're like this super bodybuilder dude, and me, I'm a kid from Brooklyn, but we know that standing in one spot for an hour is 10 times more taxing than moving around and diving for freaking balls and bringing them back and jumping. Standing in one spot is the most taxing thing. I mean, you guys got to do some yoga. Take the wheel.
Yeah,
Matt's
I mean,
like, you go first.
you definitely got to worry about your physical fitness, because you do spend long days out there. Obviously, you're dealing with the sun, you're dealing with the heat. But as far as the mental side, the hardest part for me is, let's be real, I'm a fan of volleyball.
Hmm.
I want to be around this sport if I wasn't. So it's forcing yourself not to get caught up, enjoying the awesomeness of a rally and realizing that you still have a responsibility to these players to, if something all of a sudden does happen that's illegal and shouldn't be happening,
Right.
that you're on top of it. That
Yeah.
yes, you can enjoy the game and you can be a fan, but you got to be ready for those one-off situations where you're needed.
100%. Yep.
It's sometimes it's tough standing there on that stand all day long, especially when we're on those ladders that are super uncomfortable, and you see us out there for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
It can get tough, and then the mental side of it, it's
The mental. Do you ever have to like punch? You ever get like punched awake? If you know what I mean.
sometimes like Matt said, we become a fan of the game, and we are, so we had the best seat in the house, right? But then we also have a job to do.
So
And
true.
sometimes we got to pinch ourselves and remind ourselves that, hey, make sure you stay focused, because a lot of times in a beach match you can ref a whole match and nothing will ever happen. You don't need to blow your whistle,
Right.
right? And from point to point, there's actually less going on in your head than, say, an indoor match, where every single point indoor match, you have to know what rotation both teams are in, where the setter is, what's going on, right? So a lot more going through your head on an indoor match, whereas in the beach, okay, make sure the receiving team is ready to go. Boom, blow the whistle for sure if they play. But yeah, it can be taxing being out there all day for sure.
Yeah. Also, understanding the players too. Like indoor, you got to understand the coaches and players or whatever, and this and that. Like, do you guys know Mario Trebich? Mario Trebich. He's a referee on the East Coast. But before that, he was the assistant coach for the U.S. women's team, '84 Olympics, assistant coach for the Soviet Union '88, and then the head coach for the Netherlands '92 and '96. So the man's been involved with 3 silvers and a gold. So he's my mentor. He's one of my mentors. But now he's just like a referee. Um, and he gave me my first yellow card. He had 2 cards. He 2 cards in the air, and he told me, pick a card. Which card do you want? Oh, which card do I want? Yeah, pick which card do you want? I'm like, yellow. He's like, yellow. And I'm like, fine. He goes, fine. He says, you want to talk last? I said, yes. Do you want a red? Sure. So I've always had this theater, like very much like Matt. There were people that would come to the gym just to see, just to see
Right.
my relationship with the refs. But Matt, I want to give you the floor, but I wanted to talk about kind of knowing players and when not to get, just let them work it out. It's not personal, this and that. Look, for me as a coach, I've went to a point where I've gotten the yellow because I knew the yellow or even a red would make my team win the match. I've had matches where I'm down and they're like, why'd you get a red or whatever and this and that. And the more the ref sees me do that and the more ref starts giving me yellows or this or that, he's like, I get it. Because it's one of those things where it looks like I'm costing us the game, but I'm not. My players are like, oh, you know what? We're going to show those parents. We're going to show that ref. We're going to show that other team. Matt, I had a game against Surfside. We lost the first set 25-3, and we won the next 2 sets. That's never happened in my coaching or playing life. You have a thought you wanted to have. I didn't want to steer us too far off.
Um, some players, like kind of like you said, definitely use that to motivate themselves to kind of get out of a rut. I mean, there's situations that happens probably more often in the pros because they know themselves a little bit better. High school and college, their players are kind of figuring themselves out and don't really know what they truly need from themselves. Some of them obviously do because they're playing at such a high level. So you gotta, especially as a ref, you gotta know who some of those players are that are going to use that tactic to fire themselves up. And do you want to play into that game or do you want to ref the way that you continue to ref and use what got you there.
Right. Yeah, look, sometimes you use it as a motivational thing, and then sometimes you just lose your mind. Todd Rogers was on the podcast earlier on, and I didn't get a chance to play this to tease him. So for everybody listening, this is for you.
Why would you call that?
Oh, wait, here it is. Watch this. Wait, Matt, wait for it. He's gonna get to the camera.
Why would you put this chick up here? She sucks!
Matt, that's for you guys. Just wanted to share that. I had Todd on the podcast a couple of weeks ago with Fish and Kessel. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I've seen that clip before, and it's
a classic.
it's an absolute classic. And Todd's a classy guy too. I mean, he's head coach now at Cal Poly, and we see him all the time. And he always says, how he was always very respectful of the refs in his playing days. But then there was this one incident that happened. But and as a as a referee, communication is key, right? And and you can't get rattled at all as a referee. That's one of the things. So like having players express their emotions, you can't get emotional as a referee, right? You have to stay, even keeled, the entire match. And there's different ways to handle different situations. And I don't give a lot of cards, and most of the time it's because I don't feel like I need to, and I know when players want to express their emotions and whatnot. But you can control a match either with your cards, or you can control it with your words, right? And I think we prefer to do it with our words and just have a nice conversation. And I think that's why we're also well respected. So,
yeah, no doubt, Matt. I think Matt's stoic face makes them yell even more. It's like, this guy just made the call against me, and he has no emotion. He doesn't feel anything. Matt.
I've given a grand total of 2 red cards. Excuse me. My entire officiating career. And so sorry, I got kids. Okay, so go.
Nice.
I'll deal with it in just a second. Sorry.
It's all right. We all
so
got kids.
I've only given 2 red cards in whether it be indoor, beach, whatever. And both of those red cards were kind of, if I don't do something about this situation, then I lose my job, sort of thing. Kind of like Troy said, I tend to be willing to let them express their emotions, use my words to kind of diffuse the situation whenever possible, and be like, look, this is just what I saw. I'm sorry you saw it differently, but do you think that you yelling at me is going to change my mind right now?
Yeah. I mean, how many times has that happened, right? Good luck with that.
That's a big no-no for us. We can't do that.
Oh, question. God, I forgot the person's name, but I remember the question. Has there ever been an argument that a player made that made you change your mind on the call based on the rules?
Off the top of my head, I would say no, because most times players come over, and it's our responsibility to know the rules and apply them correctly, right?
Right.
So most of the time it's just over judgment. And I can't put my finger on a time when a player come up to me and made me change a call based on the rules.
Right.
Because I would be the first to admit if I were wrong, to say, okay, maybe I got that wrong. Let's check the rules. Let's get it right. Ultimately, that's the main goal, is to get it right.
Right.
Right. As referees, we're not out there to get it wrong and then penalize a team because we're wrong. It's like, no, we should be the ones getting it right, and that's our main goal.
Yeah.
As far as changing a rule or a call because of interpreting a rule wrong, I can say that I have not had that happen. But I will be honest that there are times where you're up on the stand and you make a call and they start arguing about it, and you start replaying the point in your mind, and you're like, okay, I could see how they could see that, or maybe I was just a split second behind or whatever. we are human and we're going to make mistakes.
Right.
And anybody that says that they've never made a mistake and gotten a call wrong is lying.
Yeah.
They're not being honest with themselves. They're not being honest with the players that are on the court. It's just the manner in which, okay, you realize you might have made a mistake. Are you going to let that create another mistake to where, oh, I missed that double. Okay, I'm going to let this team have a double now.
Right.
And then you create that snowball effect. So it's realizing that you made a mistake and kind of like the players do, next play.
Right. Here's an example I'd like to give you guys, and this is an indoor example, and both of you guys are ref. You guys are not just. You guys ref everywhere. Noseka, indoor, probably even ref volleyball on the fly somewhere, moonlighting. So here's a scenario. Guy is jump setting, back row setter, right? He's jump setting.
Talking about indoor now?
Yeah, indoor. So he jump sets, he back sets like a 5. He's above the net, right? But it's an overpass. The hitter hits the overpass, but hits the net on the follow through. So my argument with the ref was that person committed the back row violation. So the contact, the hitter who hit the net on the follow through is not as
Correct.
not in the equation.
Correct.
Right. So my question to you guys, is that a replay? Is that a double violation, like the net and the back row attack? Because once he contacts, it's the back row attack, but once he nets, it's the same thing. Help me out with that call. Is that a replay, or is that ruled a back row attack?
It should be ruled based on the way that you're explaining it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it should be ruled a back row attack.
Right.
Because once the ball enters the plane of the net and you make contact, that now is a back row attack. And because they follow through into the net,
Right.
it's whichever action happened first.
Gotcha.
And so unless they got the net with their left hand as they were making contact with the ball at the same time, then you could do a replay. But if it's with the attacking hand, chances are pretty good that they made contact with the ball before they made contact with the net, making it a back row attack.
When two violations happen on the same play, we always look for which one occurred first.
Yes.
And that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Wow, the questions are still coming. They're coming in, man. We're rolling
Keep
now,
firing
boys.
away.
Well, someone just Facebook. I just saw a Facebook DM, because this is on Instagram, Facebook, and whatever. So this person said, "Can they handset clean themselves?" This is Hayden Ellis from Old School Volleyball.
I wasn't the best setter, but I can put up a clean set.
On the beach, I was a setter in high school, so I tend to be more of an indoor style setter. I'm not quite as well attuned to the beach hands right now.
Yeah, I was an indoor setter too, but I think what a lot of people need to realize is that indoor setters, just because it releases fast doesn't mean it's spinning. I mean, you might get some occasional spin, like these high pressure situations. Maybe you're trying to hold it for the middle, and then you change your mind instead of 5 or a back 1 or a red, and there'll be a little bit. But for the most part, like a lot of these quick release setters, it's not spinning. and you see the Polish team, the Poles, fast release. Is it Cantor and Flugen? Some really good setters, man. Some really good setters on the international scene. Peruvic, Schweiner. I can go on.
And I also, you got to remember, I'm pretty close to your age, Jay.
Yep.
And I graduated high school when it was still old school rules. It wasn't the allowing doubles on first contact, still tighter on the hands, no let serves, no libero.
Yeah, no libero. Rally scoring. Yep. Yeah.
Side out scoring as opposed to the rally scoring. We played to 15.
Yep. That rule for our younger guy here, Troy. All of those rules happened the same year in 2001. It all came down.
It was girls' season of 2002. Right.
No, but men's 2001, and and I only know because it was my debut as an NCAA head coach, and I'm just like, great. I spent my whole coaching career. I finally get a shot, and now I'm gonna look incredibly bad because I gotta adjust to this bull crap. So yeah, I started playing in '88. I was inspired by the U.S. Team. I was a big Steve Timmons fan. This Jufro, this thing right here, ain't no way that's gonna be spiky, but I don't think I didn't try. All right. So Travis Mewhirter. All right, from the Sandcast has a question. Ask what American women need to do to stop getting called on lifts. Ooh, I got 5 answers to that, but because I got the real McCoys in the house, take the wheel, boys.
Can we just start with Sponsel, and she's got to not make the contacts begin at her chin?
Isn't that who we're talking about right now, right? We just name names here. That's who we're talking about right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, she's not making contact, but until she gets down here, and then she's just coming straight up. But she's following the ball in, and so all the international officials, they get so worried about watching that downward motion. Does she have a little bit of a hitch? Yes. Is it worse than any other players? I don't think so. But
On the international
so
scene,
low.
Okay, got you.
But because she does it so low, it looks worse, in my opinion, than some of the others.
Got
I
it.
think more of it's about perception because we don't really call her on the AVP, right?
Right.
Because we're maybe a little bit looser.
But that's the
on
league,
that.
right?
But
The
that's-
AVP is the league.
Correct, and like you said, right, check with your league. And when those international refs maybe see her take the ball at her chin, maybe they just start assuming, well, that's got to be a catch, right? It's got to be a throw because it's so low. But if you're taking the ball here and releasing the ball here, is it really a catch ball?
Right.
But maybe it's just a perception that, oh, well, if she's taking it that low, it must be a deep dish. But is it really a deep dish? So we can give advice and just say, well, maybe higher and or quicker, because that's what they say, right? High and quick, high and quick, high and quick.
Right.
But it's a tough one, man. It really is, because every ref is going to call a different game, and the international refs don't see as much volleyball as we see here. We see way more volleyball than they do.
Tons.
Right?
At the juniors, collegiate, local, regional, gold series, right? Matt, we can go on.
Well, even like us going and ref and practices.
Yes. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I've been there for those, because I do the same as a commentator. I do the same thing. I set my camera up and I just tape practices. You know, one of my favorite videos actually is Qatar versus Trevor and Troy. In the match, there was no money on the line.
That was before they went to Mexico, right?
Yeah,
So like a year or so
just
ago.
beating. There's 4 guys beating the living hell out of each other for pride, you know, to win. I mean, game 3 became more about competing, and the first 2 sets you could clearly see that we're working some stuff out. But you know, I'm actually doing mother load, so you're gonna see me out.
On the international scene, the point of emphasis is always on the catch balls,
right?
And they're under a microscope every match, because you're gonna have a delegate, which is your head ref, sitting there at every single match watching you, and then after the match is over, they're gonna ask you, well, why didn't you call that? So they probably feel a lot more pressure to call it, whereas not so much here on the AVP, because obviously we want them to play, we want the crowd to be entertained, and as long as it's not egregious, well, why are we calling it? If it's marginal, we're probably going to let it go.
100%. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple officials that are going around, and mind you, we are getting watched on every play. Obviously, there's tons of video cameras, but we do follow a slightly different rule book, and so, you know, different league, different rules. We're not calling what they call in the FIVB. Are we ever going to get to that point? Who knows?
Yeah.
It's not up to us to decide at this point in time right now, but it's, you know, something that you really got to look at. Do you have 2 different setting styles for whether you're playing AVP or whether you're playing FIVB?
Right. And I would like to top off on continue on that and just say this one thing. We talked about checking with your league. If you know you're going into this certain league where the hands are not necessarily catch friendly and the refs aren't catch friendly, you train for it. You guys, and this is sponsored, this is all of you guys from me or whatever, and I'll just say it because the Brooklyn way. You're professionals. You're professionals. You're playing in a professional tournament. That is a different professional league. They have different professional rules, and you make the adjustments. This whole fairness is a place where we judge pigs, guys. You know, no, right? And again, I'll go to other sports. Basketball, college and pros are different 3-point lines, right? It might be the same now. I don't know. But like we were talking about the 3-second violation. We were talking about basket interference rules and stuff like that. That's the league. That's their rules. And what they did as they were professionals and they adjusted to that. So welcome to the wonderful world of mainstream sports. We're different leagues, Adjust. Matt, I wanted to say something before we had a little fun with the lightning rounds, and you're gonna love this too. Have you noticed in 2016, right? Larissa's setting, and we're talking about how beautiful her hands are. And in 2016, when I'm in a bar or if I'm at home or if, I'm in the command center and Troy's here now and he sees I got like 15 different TVs. I watch volleyball all the time, but when me and my wife said she's got awesome hands, everyone knew who we were talking about in 2016.
Yep.
Today, I'll say she's got awesome hands, and you're just like, which one? And I want you guys to talk to me about the evolution of this conglomerate or just this emergence of talented female setters in the last 6 years, maybe even 10.
And the evolution. Go ahead, Matt.
Matt,
think
you
a
go
lot
first.
of-
Do you want to start with a timeline before we go on, or am I right?
I think there is a timeline. I mean, you look at how many girls are using their hands now, and a lot of it goes back to when it started becoming a college sport, and kind of realizing that the FIVB was going to change their rules a little bit. So we started loosening up just a little bit on the hands, not calling quite as tight on the doubles, still letting them have that little bit of a downward motion. But it really does start with when it became an NCAA sport in college, because then you started getting all the clubs, especially here in Southern California, you got girls that are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old that have already been playing beach volleyball with coaches like a Jake Gibb or a Holly McPeak or a Mike Dodd, or St. John Smith is out there, I know. And then you got a lot of the current pros that are out there, and you're getting elite level coaching at such a young age. And that wasn't the case even 10 years ago. And so that has really been the big progression as far as the hands go, in my opinion.
I was going to say the exact same thing, because that was only about 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
That the NCAA made it a real sport.
Yeah, well, I'd say 8 years because
Well,
I count.
there was the AVCA, and then the NCAA came in and said, okay, we're going to make this an actual sport, championship sport.
You count the champions, then you get the years. It's 8 champions, 8 years. You're right.
Right, and then 1 year I think we didn't have because of 2020.
Right.
So whatever it was, and then we've seen a rapid evolution since then.
Mm-hmm.
And like Matt said, with the onslaught of not only the clubs,
Mm-hmm.
the MB Sands and the Spikers and all that kind of stuff, but the coaches coming in, and even at the collegiate level, and everybody hands. And I mean, we love it. Yeah, we have to make more decisions, but it also accounts for a quicker game. We see a lot more bump setting before. Now everybody's using their hands. And even on the men's side, the youth men's side, we just had a tournament, the U21 23s. All the kids using their hands, great hands too, these kids. And I'm like, where are you guys even playing?
Right.
There's no high school league for high school
No.
for boys beach yet. There's not, and a lot of these kids are from all over the country. But it's getting really good. I like it.
Well, guys, you know what helps? Go ahead, Matt.
I think it even is obviously transferring to the international level as well. Look at what Kelly and Sarah just did, and Taryn and Kristen. And we're getting seconds and thirds in Elite 16 events, and how all 4 of those girls came through the college system.
Right.
So that kind of, to me, right there shows that it is paying dividends at this point already.
So I went to 2016 because I just moved here, and Duran Forbes, who's the director of beach volleyball national events, like the Get Noticed Showcase, had a club team called Endless Summer. And I got on board with Oz Borges, the Cuban skill set Nazi. You might know who he is. Jeff Samuels, Pompeo Mercadante, Andrew Dentler, just this great crew of guys. And everyone in practice, 12, 13-year-olds using hands. And Matt, you'll appreciate this. What Duran was doing from 2016 to 2019, she'd have 4 tournaments a year called no hands tournaments. Meaning no one was going to call a double or a carry. They weren't going to let you like catch it and this way and just walk around and throw it up in the air. But like they
If it was
they
true
they were
volleyball motion.
yeah, they were encouraging girls to use their hands as much as they could. And she did these 4 tournaments called no hands. They were called the no hands not Get Noticed, but BVNE no hands tournaments. Mikasa, our King of the Beach, was our sponsor. It was Spalding and then Mikasa, and it worked out great. I thought I just wanted to add that
No,
because
I love that because at that age, especially that young,
Mhm.
I think girls maybe get a little fearful and timid when a ref calls them on something.
Yeah,
And of course, as referees, we're going to call the game differently for a 12-year-old than we are for an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old.
right.
Because they're still learning. Their hands are getting stronger. They're not quite there yet. And so, but yeah, I love that idea because it gives them confidence, and that's what they need.
Right. Who's because you guys are players, I'm not I may not be asking you this question as refs, but more as players and refs. Who's one of the better setters on the tour that no one talks about? As far as whether it's bump setting hands, shoulders to the pole, technique, footwork, set location. I'll go first. I'm biased, so I'll go Jeff Samuels. His footwork, his first step, and his ability to make a second move. Because I know a lot of people want one move to the ball, that's a John Mayer way and certain people, but willing to make that second move to make sure your hitter has a good look. I like Jeff. Now I'm asking you guys as players, not as refs, because I know, I'm not trying to get nobody in trouble here where there's a wrong answer to this. If you want to pass, if this question is the deepest damn question we're gonna have on the podcast, we'll pass. But I don't think it's that deep.
I don't think that he's overlooked, but he kind of has started getting a little bit more airtime as he got older. But Billy Allen, to me, has always had one of the sweetest pairs of hands on tour.
Yeah. Right?
And obviously he didn't start winning stuff until a little bit later in his career. But obviously I am a little bit biased because I did play with him in college. So,
Oh yeah. Where did he go to school? Say it with me. Cal Northridge.
Go Matadors.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the one that kind of popped out to me was Eric Brannick. I always loved watching him play, and his hands were so smooth.
Yeah.
And I was like, every time he went up and he put his paws up, I was like, I can just put my whistle in my pocket. And Skylar Del Sol is another one too. I used to love watching him. He's got the smoothest hands, man, and his ball would just come out with absolutely zero spin, all just nectar every time.
Yeah, Skylar Del Sol, Rafa Rodriguez. There's another guy. Really good. Hands.
Let's give someone like Travis Mewhirter a
Yes.
little bit of credit too. He's not afraid to throw him up anywhere, anytime, awkward positions. It does pay dividends for him. I think he puts up a nice hittable ball.
Mhm.
But he's not the elite level player yet. He's definitely working his way up, and he does have some very nice hands.
He really does. I actually saw Kame Schalk serve a sky ball. There was a Canadian game that Travis was visiting, and they were trying to encourage, and Kame told us on the podcast, actually. And he's like, they're screaming, sky ball, sky ball. So Kame serves a sky ball, and Travis takes it with his hands. He takes it with his hands. And when you mentioned Travis, it was my impulse for my mind to go that direction. Hey, let's plug in Ty Trambly, former player, another Matador. The guy would just like jump in the air, 30-foot line, and just whoo. Ty Trambly, very good indoor and outdoor setter. Former Matador. Yeah, Sponsel, of course, got to give her due. Kelly Chang, really, really discovering herself every year, becoming a better setter version of herself. You guys agree with that?
She was also a setter in high school for indoor.
Oh, cool. So
it's just kind of, she's feeling more comfortable, kind of like what you said. Mm-hmm. It's just getting that comfort level up.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, all the girls, especially the ones that are playing now on the FIB tour, that are taking those seconds and thirds, the Kelly, Sarah,
Kristen Nuss,
they're playing so well, and seeing them all the time down here and just encouraging them on and being like, hey, what's up, you guys are doing great, and they're like, they're great people too, which is even better, and so we'd love to see our USA teams, and shout out to Andy and Miles for their gold,
no doubt,
this past weekend, and man,
dude,
they're crushing it.
Boy, so nice they did it twice. They beat the Norwegians twice, right? That was crazy. That was, It involved a little bit of luck, but to me, luck is the residue of design, right? Sometimes some team has momentum, and like Christian Storm, they had momentum, and Christian Storm hit the tape on match point. So there was a match. If someone watched the finals, right? I mean, the pool play I didn't get to see, and I know they won that 15-12 the third set, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
15-12.
Yeah.
But like that finals, as far as momentum. Oof, what a wash! But
back and forth,
yeah.
And I mean, the days of jump setting are here. That's the next part of the evolution, right?
Which means that the day of the slow release has to disappear.
Oh, it has to.
right? Yeah, I mean, it's gonna look like you're playing basketball taps if you're gonna catch and throw that and jump in here and try to jump set that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys,
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
right? You can't have you guys. It will be like your instinct to blow the whistle if you see someone jump in here and do this. It's taps.
Yeah.
We had a game, growing up in the hood called taps. Your feet had to be in the air when you were touching the ball, so you had to jump in the air and then throw it in the air. Sorry, go ahead.
I think the hard part about that whole situation now, and we were kind of talking about this as a cadre on the AVP this weekend, is those guys are getting so good and they're trying to square up to the net every time. They're really giving themselves three different options. They
Agreed.
can swing, they can set the ball over, or they can set their partner.
Right.
And so if they do that set over, you got to make sure that their shoulders are square.
Right.
And then also be ready to make sure it's not a caught ball if they do set their partner, or if they take a swing, look out for the touches. So it's adding another element of complexity to us as officials on things that we have to watch and be cognizant of in just a single play.
Right. And I like that Miles, if you look at his technique, he's not a lot of the setters are facing the net to jump set to deceive the block. But guys, this is a copycat league. I think in a year, some blockers are going to be like, he ain't hitting that. And then trajectory wise, because their technique is not right in the air, they're going to be setting behind the hitter's head or tight into Andros Mall or a Sharif or Andy Benesh. But Miles, he's left-handed, right? So he's always shoulder here, as if he's setting indoor. So it's always going to be something where he's still deceiving the block, but at the same time not selling out his hitter.
Right. And
You know?
because with Andy being on his left, he
Yeah.
can come to the net like that, and he can look like he's setting at the very last second because he's a lefty. His left hand's already behind the ball and just takes that swing and just puts it where the defender isn't.
Yeah.
And something that I've seen them do, which is just filthy but in a good way, is
Right.
they're starting to take first ball over with their hands
Yep.
and putting it at the net, which gives that second person an option to either hit it or jump set it back to the
Yeah.
first one. So
Which Andy's doing now. Look, it was Partain infectious, and I think Coach Mike Playcheck has a lot to do with that. Miles just gave me his number. I want him. Everybody's like, "Oh, get Miles on the podcast. Get Miles on the podcast." I'm like, "The hell with that." I want to talk to Mike Playcheck. I want to talk to the guy Miles Partain beat to get into the main draw. His first main draw with his brother. He had to beat Playcheck and Matt Motter. Third round wasn't even a play-in, but he had to beat the guy who later became his coach to make his first main draw. But I wanted to finish by saying this, and you guys can echo this. The real story wasn't Miles in this weekend. Miles has been a great story all year and even last year, and was one of my top 2 picks for MVP because we had our own show with Matt Prosser and Aaron Wexler, our own award show. But Benesh was the bigger story this weekend to me. The guy's blocking was ridiculous.
all I saw in highlights were just him just with some monster blocks, and I didn't get to see any of the matches live because they were playing at 1 o'clock in the morning our time, or
Right.
they were playing at 7 or 8 a.m. But I'm out there on the sand, reffing
Yeah.
the Hermosa Open. So, but I was able to go back and see some of the highlights, and yeah, just playing at a very, very high level.
Yeah, Matt, Andy's blocking was just an amazing. He's always been a streaky blocker, but he wasn't streaky this match. He was consistent. He was really good, man.
Yeah, he's been a good blocker, I think, ever since he was in college when he was a middle blocker at USC.
Right.
He's always been smart, seen the game really well, and used his hands.
Yep. Oh, man, just great conversation. And any questions that come in after this, too bad.
Let's see. You got any more questions for us, rules wise?
I think that's it. What was your first yellow? Where was your favorite place to travel? That's an interesting question. You guys, was it Stad? Was it New York? Do you like the South Bay? What's one of the places you guys look forward to traveling to?
I haven't traveled much. I went to New Orleans last year. That was really cool. I love Coconut Beach, going down to Bourbon Street. But other than that, I haven't traveled much.
Coconut Beach is awesome.
Yeah, and then for collegiate, of course, Queens Beach and Honolulu. That was a pretty good experience. That was a really cool experience.
Dude, Matt?
Seattle was kind of a fun event for me.
Yeah.
Just, somewhere a little bit different weather that most of the players aren't used to, different texture of sand. So it kind of took a little while for the players to get used to when I was up there in 2019.
Yeah, I'm always gonna love New York. That's where I'm from, and the
Yeah.
conglomerate, the immigration population is
New
always
York and
it's always gonna surprise you, Matt. Mhm.
and San Francisco both being out there on the pier. Because I know 2018 was the last year we did San Francisco, but
Right.
both of those, because you really it isolates you because they build sandboxes out on the pier.
Yep.
So you get a lot more wind, and it again another new atmosphere with the circling winds because of the stadiums and stuff like that. They really
Swirly wind.
players focus.
It's so true. So true. Yeah. But for me, I fell in love with Coconut Beach because that was my I moved here and had to start over as a coach and commentator, pay dues all over again. And my first center court finals was Corey and Weber beating Marciniak and Rodriguez. I call that match center court. Night lights. And you know how humid day in New Orleans is like a great nightlife. You don't have to bundle up. It's not like brick cold. It's a great nightlife there when it's humid. Hawaii too, New York, but go ahead.
Last year we played later in the year. So I think this year
Right.
New Orleans was in April?
Yeah.
Last year it was May. It was like Memorial Day.
Right. And 2021 was June.
Yeah, and it was it was hot and humid out there. And we were playing. They pushed the start time to like 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of playing an AM and a PM session, they just started everything at 3 p.m., which I think was the hottest part of the day. So we had a couple matches, but then we were playing until 11 p.m. under the lights. And that was pretty cool.
That is cool. So guys, before we go, I have something called a 60-second lightning round. All right, I'm gonna start my 60-second clock, and there it is. All right, boys, all set?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And let's do it. Favorite comedian?
Adam Sandler.
Bill Burr.
Nice. Last good book you read?
Reinventing Parenting.
Think and Grow Rich.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Same.
Pool or beach?
Beach.
Beach all day.
Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter. All three of my kids love it.
Haven't seen any of them.
Okay. Bourbon, vodka, or tequila?
Scotch.
Whiskey.
Favorite sport outside of volleyball?
Football.
Tennis.
Nice. Football and tennis. Favorite action film star growing up?
Tom Cruise.
I like that one. I'm an Arnold guy, you know, giving away my age, but go ahead.
And that was in my head too, because Top Gun Maverick was just so recently.
You cruising too?
Yeah, I'll cruise until something else pops in my mind.
All right. Any fun conspiracy rabbit holes? He's like, you trying to get me to lose my job, right? I'm supposed to lose my job?
We can go so many different ways with that, especially especially today. But
well, I'll go light. I'll go JFK assassination. Like, I don't think Oswald acted alone. I'm ex-military. I'm an expert in the M16 and the Beretta, and
Moon landing.
it's just a really, really, moon landing. What about you? Elvis ain't dead? He's on ice. They're going to melt him down when the economy gets better?
Elvis, Tupac, Biggie, throw them all in there.
Yes, all on ice. I like it. Suspended animation, boys. So somebody, guys, plug in your IG. Anyone just want to get to know more about just refereeing and this and that, because I did some research on you guys and just NORSECA and the certification and all that stuff in the process. People just might have questions about things that are in your wheelhouse. Not stalking you and talking about why you sucked or anything. Trust me. You go first, Troy.
Yeah, you can reach me on my Instagram, which is just my full name, at Troy Gravett, TroyGravett.
Gravett.
Gravett.
Okay. Maddie?
Mine is Matt Money Tips. MattMoneyTips.
Nice. I like it, boys. All right, guys. So Matt might love you and Troy might love you, but me, I can't stand any of you. In fact, I'm out of here. I don't even want to be here anymore. So for all of you at home, for all of you on your iPad, for all of you on your desktop, for all of you on the lunch line at Starbucks, this is Matt Levoe. This is Troy Gravett. And I am Jason Debelias. Hey, guys, so long, man. Thanks for joining me. Guys, stick with me. I'm going to hit my music. We are out of here. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.